Okay, bonjour again. Last but not least is Nigel. I shall just give a brief introduction to Nigel's practice. Nigel Baldacchino, apologies, is an artist and design architect based in Malta. His practice explores photography, music production, video, text, and the design of physical objects and spaces. He is one of the original initiators of Those Eyes, These Eyes They Fade, which is the exhibition upstairs. I think Nigel birthed the idea with Benedicta and Anne. His work is also in the collection of Malta's National Community Art Museum, and he's been published in Guts magazines and Fresh Eyes. So it's a pleasure to talk to you, Nigel. Alright, I think you could. Do you usually translate? So we have a lovely video. So as a fiction, we might have the video going through. I thought maybe I'll ask you, please, could you start by introducing the Pinetu project? What was your interest, and how did you
That's a great question, thank you. It's redundant, it's a surprise. Pinetu is technically the term for Pinetu in Malta, where I come from. And Pinetu is just a way to refer to a bunch of pine trees in one place, basically. But the only time that I ever saw it used or heard it used was for this specific part, the recent about. So colloquially among these people, Pinetu exclusively refers to this park, even though the formal name is Jubilee Grove. It's a park that's basically formed out of a layer of political and social anomalies, which is absorbed in its form, in its trees, and its mood, etc. It started off as fortification glacis. So glacis is basically a slope of land, barren land, mineral land that you put in front of a fortification, so you maximize visual from inside the fortification. With some irony, the British rulers in 1935, Malta was belonged to the British, responding to some rumors of insurrectionist gatherings in the area, flooded the whole place with an arbitrary spine row and columns, like a grid of pine trees, which it feels like it doesn't belong to the place, and it was very a random way of doing things. So, kind of the first obstacle was introduced. That would eventually, throughout the 20th century, develop into a social phenomenon as well. With the cars and the roads around it, it was basically impossible for pedestrians to go to it, because it was isolated, even though at the same time it is impossible to ignore, because it's in front of the capital city, so going out, it's in your face kind of thing. And get a bit of the distance. Towards the end of the 20th century, then it shifted a bit. So the heroin culture in Malta was spiking up. A big clinic, public clinic, is nearby. Also the police headquarters, but that's less important. So heroin culture started really occupying the space. At the same time, a group of male cruisers started using the space, and even among the cruising community in Malta, there are a couple of sites around. Even among that, it was a special tribe, basically, of middle-aged people with families, heteronormative families at home. Malta is very Catholic, hyper-Catholic. So they were driven to this double life, where they were marginalized, etc. And they found a kind of camaraderie between them in this park. Eventually, heroin went down. They cleaned the place, 600 cylinders and treats and everything. They just cleaned the place, and the cruising survived. So it became basically the place of cruising known in Malta. They are called Nemmisa, which is peeping toms, basically. I grew up with that, and the stigma displayed out for me also taught things to me personally. I grew up around that, and no one ever told me not to go there. It was just understood, even though no one talked about it, that you shouldn't go there. No, I had no idea why. So I grew up with this kind of ghost. In 2020, with COVID, another group came along, which is expats coming to Malta, living there, had no idea about the place, its cultural significance, nothing. And they started to use it with families, dogs, children on the grass, etc. So for this window of time, another peculiar anomaly was happening where at the same time of day and everything, these cruisers would be going around, would be like signal posts along this path, and in front of them, families, children, dogs, and everything, and there was no communication. To me, it felt like a very surreal moment, and it felt a bit like the place itself had inherited this cognitive dissonance that these people had been experiencing all their life. So now it's kind of that. And now, after my project, after I took these photos, the dummy is still unpublished. It is already a part of history because the government issued plans already to make it into a basic regular park, flooded with light, with CCTV cameras, with a cafeteria and everything, a playing area, and fence it off, basically. So it started with a political maneuver by the British, and it's basically gone again with another political maneuver, which is happening soon. Good luck translating that.
So at what point did you know or fear to become a photo book?
The answer is now I'm become short. Okay, don't worry about it. So, this is the first project that I ever started as a photo book. For several reasons. One of them was that it felt like the subject called for it. It called for an intimate interaction. It called for the scope of it to be a lot of images that give context to one another. And add to all that, it was at a point in my life where I had met Anne, etc., those eyes, etc., and I felt I have always been an exhibition person. I always exhibited my work, etc. So it was the first time I was getting into photo books, the culture of photo books, etc., and I started developing that sensibility. So I started it off as a photo book, and yeah. And the difference for me was the exhibition and photo book approach. It was a bit like the difference between writing prose and writing poetry. You're still writing, the vocabulary is still the same.